Let's get into the books. My name is Ben, and I will be doing the BookTube Newbie Tag today. I hope also to give you a few books to think about later in this episode. Welcome to my channel, Tilting at Tomes. The title of this channel is a reference to Don Quixote and the saying tilting at windmills. It's often used synonymously with delusion, but because I named my channel after this saying, I'd like to offer a few different interpretations of Quixote. He is actually quite an endearing character if we think about it. Despite his foibles, like Quixote, we should all strive to foster elements of idealism and purpose and tilt at our own windmills. We should search for adventure, stand up for something even against the prevailing winds, commit to learning, and of course, remember not to take ourselves too seriously. As this channel gets up and going, its primary focus will be the promotion of the kinds of idealism that lead you here or to my colleagues across BookTube. We all have a common goal to promote reading in reading communities, even when, or especially because, the learning environment now is difficult. On this channel, you can expect things like book recommendations, analyses, book-oriented topic discussions, lists, exploration of book debates, and perhaps a few other creative and fun episodes. Overall, I would like to dip more into analyses, but we will see how things go along the way and see how the audience, myself, and the channel develops. I'm also new to video and editing, so there are going to be some growing pains in this channel. Pardon me for that in the future. In real life, I teach writing and literature. I also have a PhD in literature, so helping others cultivate literacy and critical thinking has long been a passion of mine. This is what reading means to me, and in the future, I hope to bring the better parts of this perspective to this channel. But enough about that. Let's get to the questions. So the first question is, why am I starting this channel? Well, I'm always looking for a literary outlet. I love books. I like discussing them. I like hearing perspectives I may not have considered. My wife and I always talk about literature most days, but I had no idea that BookTube even existed. But I happened on a couple of channels after watching an author interview. The first channel I found was Life on Books, which was a podcast with Toni and Andy. Despite watching this episode, I still decided to continue. I'm just kidding. They are one of the reasons why I'm here and excited about book discussions again. I started watching more channels. Please Read Your Book, Noteworthy Fiction, Eric Carl Anderson, Eyes on Indie, Supposedly Fun, and Ben Reads Good. Because I also make educational content for classes, I saw this channel as an opportunity for fun and professional development. I think it will help me find new books and topics for future courses, as well as these other things. I hope I can learn from other perspectives, see what the possibilities of the literature are. I also think I can help out and further deepen the literary discourse on YouTube, which I think is something that we're all after. I think that's one of our goals. So, next question. What are some fun or unique things you can bring to BookTube? My book-related experience is pretty varied, so I hope I can bring some variety. I worked in publishing briefly. I planned author events. I harshly judged friends and family for their reading. I've been around a lot of writers. And I've also been teaching for a while now. Also, counter to book nerd stereotype, I was an athlete when I was younger. I played college football on the defensive line. Those experiences plus the good old Midwestern pragmatism, have often helped me translate intellectual culture to students who may not have been exposed to literature and other egghead stuff. I've also been told that my sense of humor can be a bit dry and wacky. So hopefully, this makes the content on this channel engaging and entertaining for audiences. Next question. What are you most excited about for this new channel? I'm excited about this creative outlet. I have little experience in making videos, but I love the subject matter. I love discussions that engage and reorient the brain. And I'm also a gadget nerd. So creating videos to discuss, educate, and entertain seemed like a great choice. Literature gives us a chance to learn and expand our knowledge of history, people, and culture. And the more perspectives we understand, the richer, deeper, and better our collective lives can be. Next question. Why do you love reading? This could potentially be a long answer, so I will try to keep it short. I get excited about the discovery process. So when I read, I get excited to see how all the plots and ideas unfold. I want to try to read everything as fast as I can because I can't wait to learn more about what's going on. This is probably not always the best way to read, however. Second, I really love language and appreciate creative turns of phrase or clever choices of metaphor. A good connection between a book and a reader can resituate how we see the world. Finally, most of the time, reading is just simply calming for me because it requires active participation in the thing. I can often get lost in a story or concept because it requires whole participation of our attention on that one thing. It's purposeful and immersive, unlike many other forms of media. Next question. What book or series got me into reading? So I'm going to do a little bit more with this and maybe we'll get some book recommendations going. I know that people love those. So I'll tell you that I have not read too many book series, but I vividly remember reading every book in the Bunnicula series when I was a kid. I still want to go back to that series. My book life has gone through cycles, so I have a few notable books at different points in my life. For example, early on, John Barth's Lost in the Funhouse was my first exposure to meta narratives and the layering of perspectives. It blew my young mind. Next up, the next book was William Faulkner, The Sound and the Fury. It was the first book to really kick my butt and almost defeat me. The first chapter is about the Colson family story from brother Benji's perspective. And I will warn people, the representation of cognitive abilities is not great. The narrative itself falls into high modernism experimentation, and the story is delivered in disorganized fragments of thought. Bits and pieces of the Colson family's fall are dropped throughout the chapter. This is the first chapter, so the effect of all of this is immediate disorientation of the reader. Many people who read this book simply quit before getting to the other family members' chapters. The next story to really impact me was Charlotte Perkins Gilman's The Yellow Wallpaper. This is the first story I felt that I successfully taught, and in that students seemed really engaged, and I felt pretty confident in what they were learning. It's an exceptional Gothic story, and it sneaks in a lesson about feminism and the 19th century medical ideas about women's hysteria. So students and readers consistently love this story, and they really get involved in it. The next book is Toni Morrison's Beloved. This was the second book to really kick my butt and almost defeat me. When I think about it, I'm still in awe of what Morrison was able to accomplish with this book. She wove together a ghost story with a history lesson about motherhood and horrors of slavery. Despite it being fiction, and perhaps because of the allowances of fictional forms, it manifests an emotional and intellectual impact that few, if any, mere historical accounts have. And that is not a criticism of history. Rather, it is praise for this book and the enduring powers of narrative, which I would say also includes historical narratives. What a butt kicker this was, but exceptional book. So, the next book up is William Gibson's Neuromancer. And I'll say that this made me stop being a snob about literature. When I read it, I learned that genre literature should not be viewed as a limitation, but as yet another important tool of literature itself. Besides being a wonderful book, it has one of my favorite lines ever, favorite first lines, I should say. And the line is, "The sky above the port was the color of television turned to a dead channel." So good. It represents some of the best literary writing, bar none. The next book is James Joyce's Ulysses. And I'll say that reading this book was like exposure therapy for literary trauma. It's another high modernism text, and it follows a single day in Dublin between three characters. It is a difficult book, so I'm glad I had a class where we could talk about our perpetual confusions. And I recommend this book to everyone, but like a psychedelic trip, this book is best experienced the first time with a guide or a group. You have to be able to talk through everything and perhaps even have the benefit of mutual frustration with others being present. However, after taking up this challenge and coming out the other side bruised and bent, you'll probably not be intimidated by many other texts thereafter. So I can also say that I have read Finnegan's Wake. And for my money, literary value, Ulysses is more purposeful and does more with its ideas than Finnegan's Wake. Ulysses, read it. The next and final book, although there have been others, but another memorable book, is Colson Whitehead's The Intuitionist. So he reinforced my ideas about the complexity of genre tropes. So this book is a sci-fi, an alternate history, detective novel, all rolled into one. One of the things that Whitehead does exceptionally well, he works within genres very well. And this book is no different. I read this around when it was first published, which gave me the feeling of discovery. It reminded me of those times when we all loved discovering new unknown bands in the 90s, and we discovered those bands before everyone else. It also has a quirky premise. It is about the fictional world of elevator repair theory. It's like an academic profession in this book. It was so weird a premise that I knew that I had to pick it up. Next question. What challenges will be the hardest to overcome? And this one is pretty easy. Consistency and editing, probably same for a lot of us. I've limited time, so I'd like to get to a place where I have enough practice and know-how to create videos that have, I would say, a moderate amount of success. And success for me just is defined by some good production, at least some audience appeal, and how well the episodes are going to contribute to the body of knowledge from all of us booktubers. That's my hope, at least. Next question. Where do you read? So I read mostly in the bedroom, a few minutes when I wake up, and an hour or more before bed. I also read at my desk when I have something to heavily annotate. Some scholarly texts can be quite dense, so I really have to lock in, and that's why at those times I read at my desk. What does my book collection look like? I have shelves in different places in our house. So in the future, I think a good episode, from what I've seen, will be a bookshelf tour. So I plan to do that in the future. If you want to see the books in the library. My wife and I have been recently unhauling a number of books, and I'll tell you that I've found myself hanging on to my dissertation books, telling myself I was going to do something with them. But I learned that there should be an expiration date for large projects, especially when the research gets old. I have books from all sorts of genres. I generally try to buy used most of the time. I also try to buy books that will last or have some cultural persistence to them. You'll hear about this in the future. If I'm unsure about a book, I usually get it on the e-reader or I check it out in the library just to sample it first. With books I plan to annotate, I buy a used paperback or a mass market copy. So I have a lot of Penguin and Oxford editions as well, and those are strewn throughout the house, right? Well, that was the last question. Thank you for stopping by, and I look forward to many more episodes to come. Please like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Ben out.